Thank you for watching CTR TV. I'm Christy Olds, and today we are talking about the opioid epidemic here in Connecticut. It is a crisis that affects every community and so many families across the state. Joining me today are Leah Crown from the Meriden Department of Health. You are the Director of Health and Human Services, as well as Crystal Blake. You are the Manager of Prevention and Wellness, which is Rushford, part of Hartford Healthcare. You guys work together a lot, have seen a lot. How big is the opioid epidemic in Connecticut?
Every single town and city in Connecticut is experiencing the opioid epidemic. The opioid epidemic affects people of all ages. It affects people of all socioeconomic statuses, educational backgrounds, and ethnicities. In the year 2017, the state of Connecticut actually saw 1,038 accidental overdoses. The number did decrease slightly in the year 2018, where we saw 1,017.
It's a very small decrease, but talking about decrease, are there signs of this going away, getting any better?
Not going away, slightly getting better just based on that data, but unfortunately between 2015 and 2018, we actually saw a 40% increase in accidental overdoses. It's a little too early to predict what's going to happen in 2019. The Office of the Chief Medical Examiner usually sends out data right after June for the first 6 months, and then that's when public health professionals and prevention professionals, we can actually do some predictions for what we're going to look like at the end of the year.
Let's talk a little bit about who is overdosing. It's not just teens, it's not just kids. It's pretty much across the spectrum.
It's across the spectrum. In fact, when we look at data sets from 2012 to 2018, the average age of overdose is 42 years. So while people expect the number to be more in the teenage years or early 20s, it really is older adults. The majority of people overdosing are males, and the vast majority of people are actually overdosing in their residence.
Are any of those surprising to you? I mean, you guys work in the field, you see a lot of it, but having an average age of 42 for overdose probably surprises a number of people.
I think it does. Typically, when we think of typical substance abuse, our minds instantly go to younger individuals. But because of what people are overdosing on from the opioids, they're usually prescribed medications. So when people are having chronic pain or have surgeries or even dental surgeries, that's how people are getting a hold of the medications.
You mentioned the prescribed opioids. Do you think there's some misunderstanding as to what all falls into that opioid classification?
Yes, a lot of people might not know that what's in their medicine cabinet is considered an opioid. Opioids can be prescription painkillers, or they can be illicit and illegal drugs. Some of the prescription opioids could include things like oxycodones, Vicodin, codeine, morphine, or a synthetic opioid called fentanyl. They're widely prescribed by doctors, like I had mentioned, for people who have chronic pain, recent surgeries, even dental surgeries. They can actually cause two different types of dependence. It can be physiological or psychological dependence. Physiological dependence signs and symptoms could be the withdrawal, which is typical. Withdrawal symptoms could be sort of that anxiety, nausea, vomiting, rapid heartbeat, and even seizures. The psychological dependence is mostly the withdrawal symptoms, which is usually the first manifestation of addiction. On the other end of the spectrum is the illegal opioids, which is heroin in the United States, which has no medical benefit at all in the United States. Because this drug is often injected or snorted, it enters the bloodstream much more quickly, which can actually lead to that higher euphoria, but unfortunately also higher overdose rates.
A lot of what you do is public education, right?
Yes.
It's getting the word out, it's educating people. And you recently did something specifically for realtors, kind of a realtors 101 when it comes to opioids. A lot of it talks about open houses. And if you're holding an open house and you're in that home, how does that tie into prevention and opioids, and what should realtors be looking for?
So we offered a Realtor 101 opioid breakfast, and we had a lot of people come out, and our message was to be careful for clients, potential buyers who could be possibly shopping in your medicine cabinets or throughout your home. So we encourage realtors when they're working with their clients who may be selling a home to make sure that they have options to completely remove any prescriptions from their home, take them with you, during the open house or if you have a showing, and to make sure if you do leave anything there, they're in locked up safe lock boxes with locks, combinations, anything like that, and that they're not just out in the open too. You know, if you do have one, maybe tuck it away somewhere where, you know, somebody walking through your house, it's not shining on your bureau in your bedroom.
But people are actually coming to open houses looking for prescription medications, opioids.
Absolutely. It's one of the easiest accessible ways. Over the last couple of years, we've really been looking at the data and seeing that, you know, if especially during an open house, it's a little easier if you're just doing, you know, showing somebody a house and a couple. As a realtor, you're able to walk around, but during an open house, you can have, you never know how many people are going to show up. So it's really important to just be mindful of it. And we, you know, and when we first started sharing the information, they said, who would have ever thought? But it's the same as you would lock up your jewelry or any valuables. You know, people could not only take maybe the whole bottle of prescription medication, they could take a couple out of the bottle, they could take a picture of the number. Now they have the prescription number to call it in, refill it. They have your name and address, your date of birth. So it's something to be very mindful of, a lot of precautions.
Well, that was going to be one of my next questions, is it's not just taking that pill bottle or taking the pills. You mentioned they could take that information and try to get it refilled.
Yes. I mean, it's a little bit harder now with our prescription monitoring system that we have. So hopefully that, you know, with that over the past few years, you know, being more secure, but there's always, you know, the option. So it's, you know, again, the prevention and the precautions that we want to take.
People will go to all lengths.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, unfortunately, the value of the prescription could be a lot more on the street than the original cost. So there's a incentive for people who unfortunately are suffering from addiction, who may go into someone's home not only to steal the pill probably for personal use, but also to steal medication to sell, to possibly purchase other drugs of choice.
Right.
Yeah.
You
Street
both
value.
touched on the value of this and treating it as though you would treat your high-end jewelry or anything else that is of incredible personal value to you. It really needs to be treated that way, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Because you never know what the street value of one prescription could be. And it could be also the value of the person's next high.
So what should homeowners do? What should realtors do?
So we have, you know, promoted lock boxes, of course. If you don't need the prescriptions, if it's something, you know, you've had in your medicine cabinet and you're no longer needing it, get rid of it, please. We have, you know, check your local police department for a prescription medication lockbox. They pretty much take anything from pet meds, you know, no liquids, no needles, of course, but get rid of them, visit your police station, see if they have one. If not, you can check out another local town and drive to the next town and use theirs. Lock boxes in any of the police departments, there's no questions asked. You walk in 24/7 and you drop your prescription pills in there and it's end of discussion. If you know, I go to one in one town, they're not going to say, are you from this town? It's really about the safety and getting it out of the hands of potential harm. It could get into children, teens, of course, you know, older adults with dementia, pets. There's a, you know, pet advertisement going on now too. You know, be careful of your meds. So get rid of them if you don't need them. If you absolutely need them, of course, lock them up or take them with you, just like you would any valuables. And you know, as an agent before the open house, it's something that they can talk to their clients with too.
You mentioned the drop boxes in the police stations, and most of them do have them, and they are there all the time. It quite literally is just a box that you can walk in, drop what you need to, and walk out. There's, like you said, no questions.
Yeah, it
Correct.
looks like an oversized mailbox,
Yep.
and you just drop them in.
Okay. Another way to get rid of them, you have these disposal
Yes.
bags here. Tell me about these.
Medication disposal bags. So these are wonderful tools that are available for purchase at local pharmacies. Some local health departments in Connecticut are also distributing those. They're great if somebody has something immediate that they want to get rid of in the home and they're not able to make it to the drop box at a police department. There are different sizes that can hold different amounts of medication. The smaller ones are usually 10 pills or 2 hormone patches. The larger bags can fit up to 45 pills or 6 hormone patches. Very easy to use. You just peel off the top, put your medications in, fill it about halfway with water, seal it, and then throw it in the trash. It is usually not recommended to flush your medications. That's something that we want to emphasize. There's a limited amount of medications that can actually be flushed. Your doctor will tell you if you are being prescribed one of those. If not, it will say it on the label, flush medications if no longer in use. But really the drop box and or a medication bag is the way to safely dispose of medications.
And those dissolve them and turn it into a gel?
Yeah,
or?
they deactivate the medication so that nobody can then use them from the trash.
There's nothing to be extracted from it, no use for it.
Correct, yes. Yeah. The unfortunate thing is there's a cost to these, but the nominal cost for these bags versus having the medication fall into the wrong hands really is priceless.
Going back to a realtor's open house, or if they are showing a client a home, something like that, what are some red flags that they should look out for? If someone is sitting there and they have the open house and there's hopefully lots of people coming through the home, what should they be mindful of?
Well, I could say you can't really distinguish thieves from normal people, right? So really we need to treat everyone, unfortunately, as if they were potentially to steal something from the home, which is not, the mindset that we want to have, but unfortunately in this day and age. And we realize that you can never be 100% vigilant. So really what we encourage realtors to do is to have people sign in when they come to the open house, so that way you have a roster of who was in and out. Be mindful of where people are in the homes. If people ask to use the restroom and they're in there for a longer period of time than they should be, that may be a potential red flag. Or if they're just hanging around places that we normally don't look in when we go to open houses, people's dresser drawers, kitchen cabinets, those can be red flags.
Any other tips or suggestions for realtors? There are resources available specifically designed for the profession and things that they should keep in mind, correct?
Yes, myself and Crystal, we had put together a flyer for realtors in both English and Spanish, just with some of the tips we've talked about today for preparing for open houses and showings. We gathered feedback from realtors before we sent it out, so we got feedback because we hope that they're going to use it, so they had made some very helpful suggestions before we put out the final product. The flyer is available on the City of Meriden website as well as the Meriden Healthy Youth Coalition website. We also would really just encourage realtors to get in contact with their local health departments and their local prevention councils. Usually those two agencies have the most up-to-date data and additional resources to share.
And then there's also the local statewide Change the Script campaign. A lot of information about opioids and how to safely dispose and lock up, and from DEMIS.
Is this something that everybody needs to be involved in to help combat?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, definitely, because in one way or the other, it is going to touch us all.
Anything else either of you would like to add?
I don't think so. I thank you for having us today.
Thank you.
A lot of very useful information. We will put the flyers and information available, make that available on our website as well, so we can do that. But both of you, thank you for being here, sharing a lot of information.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching CTR TV.